The discourse surrounding Jayson Tatum is getting so stupid that somehow I, a Knicks fan, feel the need to come to his defense. So it starts with all NBA this year, where, if you believe the four locks are Giannis, Luka, SGA, and Jokic, it's who's fighting for that fifth spot. So a lot of people believe it's Jayson Tatum and it's Jalen Brunson. Now, I, of course, would love to see Jalen Brunson get that fifth spot. I think he definitely deserves it. You can make a great case for him. But the lengths people are going to discredit what Tatum has done this year, it's insane. Where it's like, of course, they won 64 games. His team is loaded. Loaded teams don't win 64 games. That takes something else. We've seen a lot of talented teams not win 64. That's a lot. That's not just 50 wins. 64 is a lot of wins. Okay, and yes, it's in part because of the additions of a Drew Holiday, of a Kristaps Porzingis, the emergence of Derek White. But Tatum is the engine that makes it all go, and he's an elite engine. 27 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. And he's been doing that for the last 5 years. That's not we're at this point now with Tatum where we start to take those numbers for granted, but we shouldn't, because they're elite and they are what make Boston go. It is the engine to everything they do, at least at the offensive end. That's not nothing. Of course, people like to point out, I think Boston's net rating is actually better without Tatum on the floor than when he is on the floor. So that's why he's not as valuable. So that's why, he shouldn't be in the MVP conversation, shouldn't get that fifth spot all NBA. And it's it's stuff like that where the advanced numbers, lose me a little bit, because it's okay, are you really trying to say then that the Celtics are better off without Tatum than they are with him? That's just not true. Because if you take Tatum off that team, replace him with a league average guy, all of a sudden everyone's responsibilities are upscaled. And can Jaylen Brown be the best player? I don't know. Can Kristaps Porzingis be the number 2? I don't think so. All those guys have to do more. And so the reason everything fell into place for Boston is because of everyone's individual ability to sacrifice. It's because you have that guy at the top who can be that superstar level player. And I just don't think that's not nothing. Again, the Celtics didn't just luck their way into 64 wins. It starts at the top. And if we're gonna, crap on Tatum in the bad moments, we also need to give him credit when he leads this team to 64 wins. Again, that's not nothing. And then, with the playoffs coming up, it becomes that whole conversation of oh my God, he hasn't won a championship yet. He hasn't won a championship. He's a playoff choker. What has he done in the playoffs? He's so overrated, Tatum. And it's just it's conversations like that this is the problem I have with NBA discourse, which is that we lack nuance. Because it's totally okay to say that Tatum has fallen short in certain moments. It's totally fair to say that he's missed out on golden opportunities to win championships, and which also puts a lot of pressure on him this year with another golden opportunity to win a championship. But to say he hasn't accomplished anything is objectively false. This dude has been to 4 conference finals, okay? Do you know how difficult it is to reach the conference finals? Just ask the LA Clippers. Okay, Zach Lowe puts it best. You want to know how hard it is to reach the conference finals? Ask the Clippers. They made their first, despite the Lob City era and the Kawhi and PG, they made their first conference finals and only conference finals in 2021. Okay, it is difficult accomplishment. All right, oh my God, Tatum struggled in the NBA finals. He choked. He came up short in the finals in 2022 against Golden State. You mean the NBA finals he made at 23 years old? As the best player on that team, he led that team to the finals at 23 years old. Let's just have some perspective on the matter. He doesn't come up clutch. Tatum's a choker. First of all, getting to the finals, that sounds pretty clutch to me. But if we're talking about, the classic, showing up in a big game, whatever, what about the 51 he had against Philly in Game 7 last year to get to the conference finals? I know a lot of people like to talk about that game in the context of what Harden didn't do, what Doc Rivers, Joel Embiid didn't do, but Tatum was the only star who showed up in that game, and he drove that blowout victory. What about the 46 he had to avoid elimination, down 3-2 in Milwaukee in 2022? That's a big time performance, and he showed up for that. Okay, so it's just again, you want to hold Tatum to a high standard. That's so okay, and we should do that because he's capable of that kind of greatness. But when, we use that standard to just sort of pull him down and just basically tell objective lies, And when we hold it to like championship or bust, I hate championship or bust. It's so stupid. And that's not to say that I don't think Tatum shouldn't be held accountable for, coming up short. Like last year, going down 0-3 to Miami and then losing that blowout game 7. Like that's, really indefensible. But he also came up big in Miami in game 7 to get to the NBA Finals in 2022. Like it's just, I admit it's a tough balance. It's a tough line to walk. But like, it's just, I think basketball doesn't, like, this kind of conversation doesn't seem fun to talk about. Talking about Jayson Tatum this way, where like, here's this dude who, like, you don't even realize this dude's only 26. He's only 26. Do I have to remind you, LeBron only won his first title at 27. MJ, same thing, like 27, 28. Like, Tatum's only 26. And when you put it into that perspective and you think about all he's accomplished, where again, it's not a championship, it's not an MVP, but like he's gotten so much farther and done so much more than so many other like young budding superstars. Oh, well, his teams have always been loaded. Have they? No? Like, I don't know. I remember one year he was playing with like Enes Kanter and Evan Fournier and Tristan Thompson. Like, there was the messed up, team with Boston, but then also remember he helped get them to the conference finals without Kyrie, without Gordon Hayward, and also like, even if his team is loaded, then okay, he seems to, maximize it about as well as you possibly could without winning a championship. Like, that's not nothing. And so it's, again, I don't want to make it seem like I'm giving Tatum a pass for everything he hasn't done, but I also don't think that means that, like, we have to come up with this overarching conclusion of the kind of player he is in a negative way, for sure. Like, it's just, it's so strange. And that being said, I do think there is a lot of pressure on him to win the championship this year. I want to make that clear. There's a lot of pressure on him to lead the Celtics to a championship, because this might be their best shot in terms of, the East is pretty weak, especially now with Giannis's injury. He's going to miss the start of the series, and their team is loaded. They've dominated all year. And like, could they beat Denver? I don't know, but like this is probably as good of a shot as they're going to have. And so I don't want to make it seem like I'm giving Tatum a pass, but I just feel like I see the conversation about him. I'm just like, this dude is 26, has 4 conference finals under his belt, and NBA finals, great numbers, has led really great teams during the regular season, has big time playoff moments, and yet all we can talk about is what he isn't. Like, all we can talk about is what he isn't. And I just think we need to find more of that balance when it comes to Tatum and a bunch of other young stars. And I know, like, it's inevitable for guys like SGA, Anthony Edwards, we're gonna have the same conversation. But like with Tatum, it feels particularly egregious because like he's done plenty. He hasn't done the thing, but like he's done plenty more than what a lot of other young stars, both current and past, have done in a similar timeline. Like LeBron got to, before his first ring, he got to what, like 1 conference finals, or before he got to Miami, I guess he got to 1 NBA finals and 1 conference finals, if I'm not mistaken. Like, Tatum's done more than that. Like, so it's just I think we just, an NBA discourse in general, just need to have a much healthier balance, much healthier perspective. But that's harder to do because we can't draw overarching conclusions, and that's not fun for some people. But like, I just think we need to do it, and I think it should start with Tatum. And I felt really passionate about saying this before the playoffs, before he has another chapter, either good or bad, in his legacy. And so I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see how that goes, because yeah.